When I walk up to a situation with a camera, it really does depend on how sensitive that situation is. And sometimes I use the camera and the fact that I take a picture to see if that process is possible. I would just kind of make sure that it's very obvious that I'm taking a picture. And then if I don't get a protest, then you can be a little bit more defined about your composition. And the photograph is of a child soldier. It's taken in the Ituri province, just outside a small village called Bleasdale, and I took it in 2003. At that time in Ituri province, it was quite a big conflict between two tribes, the Hema and the Lendu, and they were fighting over the access to natural resources in that region, more specifically gold and the access to the areas which had high deposits of gold. And I saw this young boy at the side of the road, and he was playing with his bike, and the bike was turned upside down on its handlebars, and he was kind of trying to get the mud out of the chain. And I saw that he had a Kalashnikov, an AK-47, slung over his back, but this boy was no more than 10. So I just kind of waited around and started taking a few pictures as he turned over his bike. And the frame I use is the one that really kind of accentuates this reach that his leg has to go through to touch the pedals. I don't want you to see one child carrying one Kalashnikov riding one bike there. I want you to kind of see all of them. I want you to kind of extrapolate to 30,000. There are 30,000 of these kids out there doing this. This is just one of them. And I think that's why I find this image quite important. I was documenting the conflict in Sierra Leone in the late 90s, and I was working with the RUF, and at that point, most of the kids were on drugs and were out of control, and there were situations that got quite edgy. And again, that approach, that very cautious approach, that very gentle approach, the very obvious approach that you walk out of a car with a camera and slowly move up to a group of people, mostly children who are carrying guns, yeah. And so, the weapons are pointed at you, and your hands are behind your head, and, they're screaming and shouting. And at that point, you try to think of anything to, introduce some sort of dialogue between you and these people that are becoming more and more kind of frenzied in a way. So, I always carry cigarettes. Cigarettes are, I used to smoke a lot. I don't smoke anymore, but a packet of cigarettes, so you can always kind of point down at your pocket at some cigarettes and say, would you like a cigarette? Please take them, they're here, And more often than not, they'll reach in and take them, and that allows you 30 seconds of time to kind of create a period of calm. And in that case, in Sierra Leone, I was invited then to kind of come into the hut and sit down and immediately calm the situation. I don't ever question myself psychologically about the project I'm starting, because most of the time I don't really envisage it being as big as it turns out to be. I've done 2 books now on Congo, and neither of them started out as book projects. The driving force behind this work is the statistics. It's 5.4 million people have died in Congo since 1998. That's the largest death toll in the world since the Second World War. That's what drives me. It's the fact that people, number one, aren't aware of that, and still as an international community, we're not doing enough to make it stop. Photography is just a method for me. It's just another tool. It could be a pen, it could be a telephone, I could be a politician. For me, it's just another tool. Whilst I am a photographer, I certainly don't consider myself an artist. The reason I take pictures is because I get angry about things that are happening, and I want them to change. And the tool that I use to do that is a camera.